What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the GoldSheet College Football Preview. I'm your host, Eric Pauly, joined with my co-host, Matt Joseph, who's ready to drop a lot of knowledge on everybody on what to expect this college football season. Matt, haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? What's been going on?
Doing well. Deep into the college football research. Looking forward to it. We're going to be doing a lot with win totals. We're going to be doing a lot with Heisman Trophy stuff and everything. And so we're really starting to dig in. It's about 60-ish days, I think, 65-ish days away from the college football season. So looking forward to it.
Very exciting. Of course, college football kicking off, like you just said, 60, 65 days. The NFL not too far after that. Since that is my cup of tea, actually, I'm going to be deferring a lot of these questions to you today, Matt. So before we get right into it, just want to remind everybody that on goldsheet.com this season, all three of our Gold Sheet football products, the Football Gold Sheet, Confidential Kickoff, and Gold Sheet Extra, are now one product. And from now until June 30th, so just next 3 days, it is $129 to get the entire season for the cost of just 4.5 weeks. And after the 30th, that price actually does bump up to $149. So if you want to lock in some early bird pricing, $129 for all three of our football products. But enough of that. Let's get into it. And I have just a question to start you with. So a lot of change this football season in terms of obviously now a lot of players are entering the portal and leaving, but also a lot of teams, I guess you could say, are entering the portal and changing conferences. You know, we saw last year that James Madison made a big splash winning the Sun Belt, even though they weren't even eligible for postseason play, which stirred up some controversy. Now, talk to me about this year. Are there any new teams and new conferences that you think can take similar leaps and be just contenders right from the get-go in their new leagues?
Yeah, and JMU is going to be a fascinating case once again this year because they were denied their waiver. They thought by doing a full Sun Belt football schedule last year that they would be able to be eligible for bowl this year, and unfortunately, they are not. So it'll be an interesting case to see if Kurt Cignetti, their head coach, can motivate them once again. You can get kids to play without a postseason for 1 year. Can you do it for 2 years? So we'll be watching James Madison. I'll stay in my state. I'll stay in the state of Virginia. I think Liberty could have a very good season in Conference USA, one of the most weird conferences that you could see out there. They added a couple of teams. They added some FCS teams. Jacksonville State and Sam Houston State, they both came up and joined Conference USA. The big question mark for Liberty is they don't have a ton of returning starters, and they lost their head coach, Hugh Freeze, but Jamie Chadwell comes over from Coastal Carolina, and he's got a legitimate system. We saw what he's done with the Chanticleers. It's a bad conference overall. So I think Liberty in the state of Virginia, the same state as James Madison, could be one of those teams. I think some people will look at the new Big 12 schools. You look at Cincinnati, you look at Houston, you look at UCF, you look at BYU. They're solid when it comes to the football field, but they're also taking a step up. And don't forget, Oklahoma and Texas aren't leaving just yet for the SEC. So I think I'm going with the easier answer of Liberty here. None of the Big 12 schools will be taking that big of a leap. I don't think any of them will win the conference, the new four coming over. So give me the Liberty Flames here to be that team to surprise people in their first year in a new conference.
All right, we're looking at Liberty to be one of those teams, like you just said, to come in and surprise teams. Obviously, a lesser-known story talking about Liberty, so we can kind of shift gears to a more nationwide type of story. A lot of bettors, a lot of media pundits are keeping their eyes on Coach Prime and what is going on over at Colorado now that he's made the jump to being a Division I coach at a very high level. Outside of that, though, obviously Prime takes up a lot of the time, and while everybody's attention's on him, there should be some attention elsewhere without the country because I'm sure there have been a bunch of head coaching turnover. What are some coaching moves, whether it be head coaches or even coordinators, that are really catching your eye for this upcoming season?
So I'll give you one good and one bad. The good one is Garrett Riley, the TCU offensive coordinator heading to Clemson. We know Clemson's got a really good defense. They've got, they manufacture defensive players, it feels like. They've got defensive linemen, so many defensive linemen that are really good. They've got a good secondary. So the defense has never been a worry at Clemson, but it's been their offense. And some of the people will point to DJ Uiagalelei, and he's gone now. He's no longer with the team. Cade Klubnik is taking over over his quarterback. But I think the coordinators just didn't have them set up in the right position, and bringing in a Garrett Riley from TCU. We saw what the Horned Frogs did last year all the way to that championship game. And I think that's going to legitimize things. And you're talking about a weaker ACC. So I think the hire of Garrett Riley to Clemson is a big one. And I think the bad one is, and look, we know this guy from TV. I think Trent Dilfer's a bad one. I think Trent Dilfer is not going to do well at UAB. He's a high school coach. He is very familiar with football, but you don't, because you know football, it doesn't mean you can coach football. And I know some people will be like, well, if he's done well in high school and everything, and he's been around the game, but that's just not a guarantee. And not only that, he does not have a lot of starters. So he is rebuilding a team that has been really good. Bill Clark was one of the most underrated college football coaches in America. Now he's gone for a guy who has never coached in college football. I think UAB is set for a step back, maybe 2 steps back this year. I just don't believe in Trent Dilfer and that hire for UAB.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just because you played or at a high level or are a high level media analyst does not necessarily mean that you can coach up a group of men to go out there and perform their best every single day on the field. But I have a question for you, just a brief follow-up. So obviously, like you said, you're bearish on Dilfer and his ability to lead UAB in this upcoming season. Obviously, building a culture in any sport, in any team, is not always a one-year kind of thing. While you can see one-year turnarounds, what does a leash really look like for a college football coach, or a new college football coach, I should say, coming in? If 1 year, if UAB is not great, I'm assuming he's not going to just get canned unless it's a disastrous year. About how many years, or what's that leash look like in general for new coaches coming into these new scenarios?
Well, I think when you look at the bigger schools, you look at Nebraska, you look at a school like that has the spotlight on them. You see a team that's going to have the spotlight on them. And look, we saw their last coach didn't last very long. A school like UAB, I think, is not going to have is going to allow him to at least bring a recruiting class or two in. So I think he's going to, once he gets his kids, because remember, in college athletics, when you take over a school, you don't have your kids right away. It depends on when you get hired. It depends on how you decide to build your team. If you're going to go and build through transfer portal, if you're going to build through the high school ranks and all that stuff, I think that it's one of those situations where he'll get 3 or 4 years probably, unless it's an abject disaster. Unless they are really bad, then he may get 2 years. Yeah, he would have to have violations, and he would have to have a bad season for him to not last past 1 season. But if it's that much of a disaster, 2 seasons could be the least. I would say 4 would be the most before you would consider firing a guy, because that means you have churned through the roster and your previous head coach.
Yeah, totally understandable. Not only were you incapable of maximizing the talent that was there, the talent that you brought from the portal, and the talent that you, of course, recruited, if you're not able to, put something together at that point after going through that set of players, probably means that it's either they're not at the right situation for you, or maybe there's a better career for you as a coordinator or an analyst just talking football somewhere else. But let's dive into it. A very big rule change that I'm not going to say it's flown under the radar, but that could actually have much bigger implications for betting on the sport, rather than just, of course, how a team is performing on a week in and week out basis. And that is that the clock will no longer be stopping after a first down, with the exception of the last 2 minutes of each half. That college rule, after the first down, clock will stop, let the teams get aligned, then the clock will run again before that ball is snapped. But Matt, how do you think that this rule change is going to affect totals, and what are just some generalities that bettors should be keeping an eye on? Maybe it's affecting not only just the full game totals, team totals, maybe some props later in games. Talk to me, how do you see this rule change affecting how bettors should be focusing in on college football games?
So this might be a little controversial, but I don't think it's going to change anything at all. I mean, I think that teams are you're going to see a lot of teams probably go with hurry up offenses and speed through things. And I understand that we're talking about seconds probably, with the stopping up for the first down previously. But I really don't think I'm going to drastically change anything when it comes to handicapping. I don't think that it's going to. it's not that big enough of a rule change for me. I just feel like it's one of those situations where, early on there might be a small alteration. Maybe maybe the books have a little bit of a lower total, but I don't think it's going to change very much. I think, look, you look at the NFL, there's still high scoring games. The teams that are really good playing against bad defense are still going to score a lot of points. So I can be honest here with that rule change. I don't think I'm going to change anything. I think I'm going to handicap games as normal. If there is anything I see in week 1, I'm not going to overreact. I might make some small changes to my handicapping, but it's not a rule that I'm kind of going to be like, oh my God, it's not like the pitch clock in baseball or anything like that, where the pace of the game changes and you have to change the way you pitch the ball. I just think that it's going to go a little bit faster, and not enough though to change how I look at it.
Yeah, it's clear to see why. Like you said, it's a matter of seconds. As we know, of course, in a game like football, seconds can be the difference between getting a playoff, not getting a playoff, and that could obviously alter the result. But would you think it's fair to say that teams earlier in the season, like you mentioned, that could just be a sign of maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say disgruntled, but like a disorganized team, that maybe the coaching isn't right there? If they're incapable of getting plays off now just because of a couple of seconds now, they're not getting back. Do you think that would show some signs of a team being undisciplined?
Maybe if you have a young coaching staff, maybe a UAB with Trent Dilfer. But no, I don't think so. I just think you're going to practice it during the spring and the summer. You practiced it during the spring. You'll practice it during summer practices and things like that. And in August, you'll be ready for it. So yeah, I don't think. Once again, this is not one of these rules that you have to go into the lab and everything and change how you call an offense and everything like that. It just means it's a normal game of football, and you just going to go and if there's a team early on that has some delay of games after first downs, then I'll worry about it. But it's a nice rule change for TV. It's a nice rule change if you want to try and shorten the game a little bit. I don't think it's going to change the gameplay at all.
Yeah, no, definitely great to see. And we will certainly be keeping an eye on bettors as well to make sure that it is not having a great impact. But based on what you described, like you said, it doesn't seem like there should be such a big change there, because it's just playing football, minus giving that little break to get yourself to the line and go from there. But of course, being a college football preview show, we'd be remiss to not mention any Heisman candidates. I know you have a long shot that you like to talk about, but talk to me, Matt. Anybody from the top of the board that maybe you're crossing off the list immediately, or that you do like, and then talk to me about some long shots that you do love deeper down the board.
I mean, so here's the thing: when you handicap the Heisman, and ironically, we can't bet the Heisman here in Virginia, and there's a bunch of states that you can't bet the Heisman Trophy. I don't understand why, but whatever. I mean, usually, look, you're looking at the top of the board, and you're looking at the guys who are there for a reason. Caleb Williams is, of course, the favorite. Everybody's heaping a lot of pressure and praise on USC for what they're going to do, and Caleb Williams has a very good offensive coordinator, very good head coach. He's got some weapons, and so naturally, he's the favorite. You look at Drake May, he's up there, and basically one of the things I think you have to do when you look at the Heisman Trophy is you look at the teams that you think are going to make the playoff. If you think that LSU is going to make the playoff, I've seen several people think that LSU could do it. Alabama, Georgia, whoever, you try and take their best player and you go and look at their Heisman odds. Now, ideally, you want it to be a quarterback, because basically this is a quarterback award. So you're looking at the top of the list, and a lot of times your Heisman Trophy winners are going to come from the top of the list. Last year, I had a bet on Hendon Hooker as my Heisman, and he was in the mix, and he actually was in front at one point, but then he got injured, and unfortunately that hurt his campaign. So we had a chance for a decent price on him last year. I'm going way down in the board, and I was asking around because I can't see it here in Virginia. This guy's 500 to 1 at Circa. And obviously, when I give you a 500 to 1 to win the Heisman, this is pennies on the dollar bet, $2 bet, $5 bet, whatever. Like money that you're going to probably end up losing, but you're going to have a lot of fun, at least along the way. For a 500 to 1 shot at the Circa, I'm going with Boise State quarterback Taylon Green. And he is a guy who showed last year in limited action that he's got a nice arm. He's got great legs in terms of mobility. He's going to run for probably 10 to 12 touchdowns. He's going to throw for probably 20, 25 touchdowns, I think. He's got pretty much everybody back on offense at the skill position. He's got some decent high priority games. His first game of the season at Washington. It's a 1:30 game. Oh, excuse me. Well, this is probably Mountain Time, so it's probably 3:30 or 4:30. It's on ABC. He's going to have a good game there and be in the public eye. Then he's got UCF at home. That one's going to be at 8 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. That's a TV game. He's got San Diego State on the CBS Sports Network. He's got a lot of high-profile games, and the Mountain West has got some bad defenses. So, look, do I think he's going to win? Probably not, which is why I would only advise a $1, $2, $5 bet on this thing. Be prepared to lose it anyway. But at 500 to 1, a guy who's got everything, all the tools in his bag, I think Talon Green's worth a look from Boise State.
Yeah, absolutely love that. There's nothing wrong, like you mentioned, if you have an extra spare $1, $2, $5 to put on a 500 to 1. I think that's something I'm going to try to sprinkle in myself. But New York being one of those states where I am pretty positive I can't bet the Heisman here either. And I really cannot wait for. I mean, I don't even know if it's a matter of time to when these odds start showing up in New York. But even going to the NFL, some of these award markets just aren't open to me, and it's very infuriating, as I know it. I'm sure it is to you in Virginia. But Matt, you're going to be contributing a lot to the GoldSheet content for college football this season. Where can, of course, you can find what Matt ends up doing for college football on GoldSheet.com. Where can they find your picks, and what other closing thoughts do you have for this NCAAF preview?
Yeah, sportsmemo.com is where you can find my stuff. Up over 150 units the last 3 seasons in college football combined. There's a deal on my page, certainly if you want to join in for the season. But yeah, I'm excited to lend my work to the Gold Sheet as well. I'll be doing little tiny capsules with win total opinions on every team in America. That'll come out in probably about a week or two. We're looking for All-Star Weekend as a chance to start rolling out the conferences and things like that. And also, I'll probably be down at ACC Media Day in Charlotte, North Carolina for my radio station here in Virginia, and hopefully with a lot of interviews and great information that I'll be able to pass on to all of you who watch these shows.
That's awesome. Reminder, you can get all of Matt's content at sportsmember.com, and you can get his free college football previews over at GoldSheet. Another reminder, all 3 GoldSheet football products, GoldSheet Football, Confidential Kickoff, and GoldSheet Extra are now one product and is on sale $129 for the entire season, but only through June 30th, so definitely take advantage of that. If you want just the picks, you can go to wagertalk.com and get the GoldSheet pick package. On behalf of Matt and I and the GoldSheet, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Looking forward to a very profitable college football season. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next time where we're going to be talking some NFL previews, so get ready for that. I will see you guys on Thursday.